Welcome back to Old War Stories with Uncle Jay. This one is entitled Wiz Security Guards, or rather, the security guards at the Wiz, but I'm making it less wordy. At the Wiz, they were all about security. Now, let me tell you how good their security was. They had security guards they were not rent-a-cops. They were hired by the store to sit there at the front desk right by the doors and check everybody's receipts. And you had to go to them. They would get up and block the exit door if you didn't want to stop. And obviously, if somebody was stealing stuff and they made a run for it, they took down license plate numbers and all kinds of stuff like that. But that was very rare. It did happen once, and those thieves were great. At the time, I don't remember. This is going to be in the very, very late 90s, 97 to 2000, we'll say, is when all of this stuff happened. These three guys who happen to wear dark blouses came in the store, and this was at a time where DVD players that you got for your TV were still $250. You can find a DVD player for $30 today if you look. If you don't care about a brand or anything, you just need to play a DVD, you can get them for like $30, maybe even cheaper. But at the time, they were still expensive, $250, and we had what they called a bulk stack of them, just a stack of 10 or 12 of them, sitting right there next to a fire escape. Now, the Wiz was in the basement, so through the door that was there was a set of concrete steps that went to the outside. And yes, the door was alarmed. And these three guys came in. They each grabbed a DVD player and headed right through that fire escape, up the steps, out, and they were gone. That's how good security was. They totally defeated them by finding another way out. And I don't think they were ever caught. This happened. Happens in any store. But that was one. But the main reason the security guards were actually there was for employees. They generally didn't care if customers were stealing stuff. They cared, they did their job, but if an employee had anything even possibly questionable at all, you were held up, they took you into a room, they had the swinging light above, and gave you an investigation. So there was one instance where at the time I had a beeper. You remember these things, pager. Shows a phone number on there. Somebody would call your beeper number and leave their phone number and it would show up. And later on they had fancier ones, alphanumeric and stuff like that. So the Wiz started cracking down because we sold beepers at the time. And I had one of these old Motorola pagers that were long gone by this point. Very old model, but you had to log this stuff in when you came in. And for some reason one day, I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe the logbook wasn't there or something. I don't know. And when you left the building, either for lunch or to go home, you had to show the item to the security guard. They have to look on the log and find where you logged it in and verify like the serial number, what it was, stuff like that, to say, okay, he came in with it, now he's leaving with it, so he's not stealing anything. And this lady, Paula Hopkins, bitch. She was just a total bitch all the time. And one day I come up, there was an escalator there, so I came up the escalator and I go to leave, and she says, let me see your beeper. And she says, I don't see it on the log. I said, well, the log was not out this morning, and there was no security guard around. So I don't know who you people were or where you were going to Dunkin' Donuts or what, but there was nobody here at the time. So I couldn't log it in, and I'm not certainly not going through all of your papers and your podium there to, because God forbid I get caught for that. So Paul was like, all right, I'm going to let it ride today. But for the future, you got to log this in when you come in. Like it was my fault to begin with. Okay, so that was that. Now we go on to the ID cards. Actually, before we do that, I want to tell you about the cameras in the store. Now, I can't tell you about the main portion of the store. There were 3 sections. There was the main portion that was in the basement. Then you'd go up 2 flights of stairs, no escalator, to the music department, and then down like a half flight of steps to the home office department where we had computers, fax machines, telephones, personal organizers, beepers, cell phones, that kind of stuff over there. And that's where I was, the department I worked in. We had found the cameras in the Wiz, and they went to a little security office that they had in that home office part. But we also had learned that that little security system on that side of the store was not linked to the rest of the store. Now, in the main part of the store, they theoretically did have a guy who was staring at all these monitors, because we didn't have this one screen with, 18, 20 different windows on it. We didn't have that, so they had the bank of monitors, black and white, you know the deal. And they were just there. So I forget exactly when this was, but at one point I think we were doing inventory, and somebody found a stick, like a yardstick or some shit, and there was like a ladder, or maybe they just climbed up the shelves, or I don't know what it was. And I watched this happen. And they took the stick and they just pointed the camera up to the ceiling. 6-8 months went by, and that camera was not touched or moved from that position. So clearly we knew that we could get away with stuff. And I'm not going to tell you what I got away with, because that's none of your business. I should just tell you nothing. So I walked away with nothing. Okay, there. Now the ID cards. This was the greatest shit. I don't know how they thought of this, why they thought of this, or what the deal was, but they decided to give us ID cards. And we were to show the security guard these ID cards before we enter the building. In fact, they would lock the door, and we'd bang on the door, and they'd get up from reading the newspaper, unlock it, after, of course, you showed them your ID card. Now, we wore these dark blue shirts. It was embroidered. It said The Wiz on it. You had a card in your pocket for the extended warranties. There was like part of the uniform kind of thing. You clearly were dressed in Wiz attire. You came in with dress shoes, with black pants or khaki pants, Jake from State Farm. But whatever it was, we were dressed for the part. Now, were there people that were fired that tried to show up and maybe steal shit? Maybe. I don't know, but they thought these ID cards would be a great idea. This was not a nice plastic card or something like a driver's license, kind of flexible, but not a paper thing. This was a paper thing. Just a paper, very, very, very thin paperboard. And it said, The Wiz, employee name, handwritten, and signed by some security guard. That's it. That's all it was. Easily forged, easily copied. And the security guard did not ask to see and inspect your card when you came through the door. You'd have to show him the card through the window. It was a glass door, So you'd show him the card. Okay, he's got his ID card. He's dressed for the Wiz. I know this guy, Okay, great. I'll let him in. So you didn't have to hand him the card so you could scrutinize the thing. And while somebody could have been fired and come to work the next day to steal stuff, figuring the security guard knows this guy Andrew or Anthony or whoever. You had to show this ID card. And they were so serious about this shit that they sent people incognito from their main headquarters. I don't know where it was. They sent people out from the main headquarters who sat in the parking lot before the store opened and watched to make sure the security guards checked this dinky fucking ID card that meant absolutely nothing. It meant even less than knowing the guy. Now, if you were a new employee and this is your first day on the job, security guard's not going to know you. And they're going to ask to see your ID card and say, you know, what department are you in? Who, what, this, that, and the third, you know, on and on like that. And they fired security guards for not checking the ID card, because even the security guards knew this was bullshit. But they had to, and that's what they did. And then there was one other incident. And this could really be an old war story in and of itself. I may have mentioned this at one point or another in some video. God only knows. I think I did. But anyway, here it was. It was a Sunday. And I'm going to the Whiz, so I'm in my old Chevy. Now it's carbonated, so you press the gas to the floor time or two and turn the key and hope it starts, and then it's stalled because it's GM, and you turn the key again and then it starts up and it sputters and it runs and blah blah blah. Well, on Sundays I was not in any rush to get to work and there was no traffic on the road. And occasionally, even though this was bad, I did this because I could. The car would start up and it runs at high idle, and then you would just step on the gas, just go vroom, and it would kick down to the normal idle. But sometimes I didn't do that. And because the fast idle was relatively fast, I just slammed this thing, yes, column shifter, slammed this thing in drive. Didn't need no brake pedal to shift this fucker either. You just threw it in the fucking drive, and off you went. And I could easily do 25 to maybe even 30 miles an hour. It was rare, but occasionally, I could actually get it to shift into third gear. It was only a 3-speed transmission, automatic, but it would occasionally just get going fast enough that the transmission said, all right. And I was, 5 or 6 miles from the place, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And I would just high idle it to work. So I'm driving, and I have to get to this main road, and that was a ways away, taking some other main roads on the way to get to that one. And then you would go through a couple of side streets and get onto the main road, and I'm on that, and I start going, and I get half a mile or so, something. And there's a red light. So I stop. And I'm sitting there at the red light. And way off in the distance, on the left side, where the Whiz was, where the was Whiz, I see smoke. The light goes green. I let off the brake, the car starts going slowly and starts accelerating, and it goes, and I get stuck at the next traffic light. So I stop, and I'm watching this smoke, and I'm kind of like eyeing this up, like, okay, I'm here, the Whiz is that looks, could it be? Could the Whiz fucking be on fire? This would be awesome, because I hated the place. The light goes green. I said, okay, enough of this high idle shit. Hammer down, and got there as fast as I fucking could. I'm getting closer and closer. The black smoke is thicker and thicker, and it's really now looking like, holy shit, this could be the deal. This could be the one. This might be it. This really might be it. And I'm getting ever closer. And now I get to a point where I could just see into the parking lot, and there's fire trucks. Holy shit! I couldn't fucking believe this. And I was able to make my turn into the lot, and there was a car on fire. Some GM car, don't remember what it was. It was the old school body on frame, older car. This was a late 90s, like I said. So this could have been an early 80s something, maybe. Kind of like I was driving, but it was still like an old school car. Don't remember what kind it was. But anyway, there it was, and it caught fire. And I turned into the lot, and the security guard, no, I'm sorry, pardon me, the firemen have like a angle grinder, and they couldn't open the hood. I don't know if the thing melted or was broken or what, and they're cutting the fucking hood open where the fire was, and I'm watching that, and the car was already just burned bad. It was bad. That's all I know. And I came into the store, and I don't know if we had the ID cards or then it's inconsequential. But I came in, I said, what's going on in the parking lot? And the security guard said, that's my car. Wow. I said, what happened? He says, I don't know, man. I just parked it. I came in and it's on fire. I said, oh, man, I'm sorry. That sucks. That's really terrible. And we ended up, I don't know if it was, I was talking to this security guard or somebody I was talking to. And this guy, whoever it was, had mentioned, oh, you got to be careful because they have hydraulic bumpers on these cars. I said, what do you mean? He said it was some sort of crash thing where there were like hydraulic rams that would allow the bumper to absorb maybe like 5-mile-an-hour impacts or something. And you might get a scuff or a scrape on the bumper, and of course it was chrome and that. But the bumper could withstand that, and there wouldn't be much damage to the car. Well, they stopped making that. Nowadays, you look at any bubble car, I don't care what it is, even a Toyota, even a Chrysler, a Kia, any GM, any little bubble car, a Monte Carlo that's red, any little piece of crap like that, any car, even new, and it's a plastic bumper. Now, it's a cover, yes, but it's just a piece of stamped steel on a pipe that's attached to the frame of the car. That's it. You hit that, the whole fucking car bends up in an accordion. It's done. There's no crash protection. Oh, it's energy absorbing. We have crumple zones now. This car didn't have no crumple zones. They put fucking hydraulic rams on the damn bumper, so if you are in a quote-unquote fender bender in a parking lot like that, you had a small repair bill. A lot of times people wouldn't even deal with insurance, and your tank of a fucking car was all right. Now, you weren't wearing your seatbelt. You can go right through the windshield as far as they're concerned. That's just fine. But actually, that was a joke. I remember a comedian with that. When they first started with airbags, much later on, this is just an aside, they said, what's this driver's side airbag shit? The rest of the people in the car can go through the windshield as far as they're concerned? Yeah, who the fuck needs them? They're cutting into your paycheck anyway. So that was the joke. Anyway, but then, of course, they're dual airbags standard on any car from the 90s on up, maybe even before that. So anyway, this security guard's car went on fire. And they told me about the bumper and the hydraulic rams on it. And they said, you got to watch with those because the fire can burn through that and the bumper can become a projectile because the heat and the hydraulic fluid could expand or boil, and this whole fucking bumper could just... and could knock somebody down. Now, I don't know if that's why they stopped making them, but when you think about it, could you imagine if your car now was equipped with such a thing? Somebody rear ends you, especially if there's a, hydraulic ram on the rear bumper, you might have a scuff or a scrape. And you'll need a new bumper cover, so it's going to cost you $500 anyway, and your insurance deductible is at least that, so you're paying out of pocket for it. But even so, it wasn't like the old days with the chrome and, you just put a Band-Aid on it, it heals itself. But anyway, that was the deal. So a security guard's car went on fire, and that was that. I don't remember anymore. Oh, there was one other one. Jules. The guy's name was Jules, I think. Short for Julian. He would mill around the store. They had other security guards. They would sometimes mill around. And he liked to chat with the employees there. And he's like, oh, how you doing? And he'd befriend you. Well, little did I know that he was going to befriend me and ask me for a few bucks. He said, you think I can have $5 for a pack of smokes? And back in these days, they probably cost that. I don't know. But anyway, he says, yeah, I'll pay you back on Monday. He's a nice enough guy, so I flip $5 out of my wallet and I give it to him. So Monday rolls around, Jules ain't there. So I asked one of the other security guards, I said, is Jules in today? Oh, I don't know. That's nice. They don't even know when the other ones are working, but they're watching us like we're stealing shit. Okay. So I said, no idea when he's coming in. I don't have the schedule or anything, so I waited a day, 2 days, 3 days. And I asked again, where the hell is Jules? Oh, he doesn't work here anymore. How did they just fire this guy out of nowhere? What the fuck? He seemed like a nice enough guy, and he wasn't the kind of guy, like I would thoroughly expect this guy to pay back or say, oh, I'm still short, and be one of those guys. But at least you'd remind him and he'd say, I know, man, I know, and this and that. And you do this with coworkers. This actually happened to me once at Tiny Middle. Some guy I worked with, I forget what the circumstances were. I needed a few bucks for something. And I said, listen, I'm really sorry. I hate to do this. Can I borrow like $20 from you? I promise you, I'm going to give it back to you on Sunday when I see you again. And he's like, you're going to give it back now? I said, absolutely. I don't borrow money and not give it back. So Sunday rolled around and I had the money on me, but I conveniently forgot, or inconveniently forgot. And he came to me and he said, what about that $20? I said, Tom, his name was Tom. I said, I'm so sorry, man. I should have given this to you when I saw you in the morning. Absolutely, here you go. And I gave him the $20 back. But Jules just gets fired. Now this could have been Tom or me, and he wouldn't get his $20. It happens. So I just got the short end of the stick on that one. It was $5. What are you going to do? Anyway, that's it for this story, this old war story with Uncle Jay. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.